contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is for the World Heavyweight
Podcast.
We're gonna make
The World Heavyweight Podcast.
great again. Nerd! Nerd!
Entering the ring at this time, your tag team champions of the podcast world, Howard Farewell. But we're just waiting for the wheels to fall off. Yes, 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 yes. Get rid of your six-sided ring array. Josh Rivera.
God does not want this podcast to happen.
You happy I brought my shovel to bury this segment?
What station is it again? Who gives a fuck?
Yabba dabba, shut the fuck up.
The World Heavyweight Podcast.
I don't care how big, how tough, or what they've accomplished. They're nerds, they're geeks, they're dweebs.
Alrighty, welcome to a special edition of the World Heavyweight Podcast. As always, Howie Farewell. Follow us at the WHPC on Twitter, Facebook.com/World Heavyweight Podcast. Obviously, worldheavyweight.podcast.podbean.com. But this week, or this Monday, or whenever I decide to put this out, it's going to be with Kyle Field. You may know him from the Obtuse Angles podcast, or maybe if you have FM radio somewhere near Springfield, Illinois, you may hear his dulcet tones coming across your radio waves.
Oh.
Yeah, just like that. Yeah, for all the ladies at home.
That's right, baby. Yeah. Yeah. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's nice to have you on finally again.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. That's right. You can check out the Obtuse Angles podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and all the other shit that I love it, man. I love Googling the show, and then it seems like every month someone has put us on another service I've never even fucking heard of, which I don't think
there's
helps
a bunch
our
of
numbers.
aggregators out there that just kind of pick everything up from like in other countries. Like I know I saw one in there. Like Yonda something in there sometime. It's like some Russian aggregator site thing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's helping our numbers, but yeah, thanks for that, I guess.
At least somebody in Europe's listening to it, so I'm like, all right, cool. Somebody's hopefully enjoying what I'm doing.
For whatever fucking reason, we've struck a nerve. I've struck a nerve with fucking Europe. I also have and this is a super fucking niche-y thing. I understand that. It's a YouTube channel. It's called Dark Eyes Stories, and I narrate scary stories from a first-person perspective. I know like two people out there listening to this maybe would be intrigued, but I just started this thing, and that in itself, the numbers on that are just ridiculous. But I get to take a look at the map of who's listening, and it's all Europe. So thank you, Europe.
The Eastern Bloc gets into some spooky, weird shit too, don't they?
I guess so. Yeah, man. Because it's on Twitter at Dark Eyes Stories. I'm just plugging the fuck out of myself as this thing even starts here. And but like again, the people who are following me on Twitter, like all fucking 9 of them are from England. So I don't know. So again, we've said this on the show for years. We're huge in Europe.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
That's right. We got to start and end somewhere, and it's going to be Europe.
And I've noticed that you guys recently have been doing a lot more like darker, spookier shit on your like disappearances and things like that on your show. Is it any reason for that, or just like you like cool, creepy horror shit?
Well, the last 5 weeks, other than this last one, it was October, so it was macabre month, which is how we pronounce it on the show.
I've been paying attention to the show.
Thank you for that, buddy. I appreciate that. And no, but the show started out as a pro wrestling podcast because both of us are comedians, Jeremy and myself, and we're both, obviously indie workers, former indie workers. I still do commentary for PTW Wrestling out of Kentucky, Plug City. Check that out. And we started off as a comedy podcast and talked about the worst angles of all time. All of that is still on iTunes, Stitcher, all that shit. And then we kind of moved away from that because we're both, again, comedians, and we're such fucking nerds. We're such goddamn nerds.
Well, you're on the right show, sir.
Yeah. So, every episode is evergreen and it's topic driven, So we've talked about, this week we'll talk about the movie Bloodsport, right? Or, next week we'll talk about classic. 2002, or we'll spend 2 weeks talking about the best. You guys
just do like the weird, like 1 year sort of things that I like. It's like, we're going to go into 92. What?
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
92? All right.
we've done 93 to 02 at this point, minus 94. We're going to get to that, and we talk about the movies,
94 was a
music.
good year.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. So we talk about the movies, music, and pop culture of that year. This week we're talking 2002, and but again, we did an episode on spontaneous human combustion. We did an episode on people who vanished. We did an episode on grisly murders, just fucked up shit.
The dark web one was pretty cool. I enjoyed the shit out of that one.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a really fun one. Because again, you just tell where our interests lie, and as the show continues now, we're approaching 3 years. How we just we care about the show more, but we care about how we are perceived less, and we just don't give a shit. And
it's amazing how much better things sometimes get when you just say, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, we do a ton of research and the show is focused, but, a year ago it might have been, hey, do we really want to do an episode on celebrities who were murdered and about this, celebrity that, killed a chick and fucked her dead body? Now it's like, man, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, of course. Why not? Why wouldn't I want to hear something about that? I completely lost track of what I was thinking of. I had a place I wanted to go with that now that we were going into some of this shit, but speaking of the old wrestling angles, I mentioned this to Josh the other day. It feels like what they're doing even with WWE now is they're just bringing back a bunch of old terrible shit. Like all the old gimmicks, like war games and the shark cages and shit like that, just to show us how bad it really could be, I feel like.
Well, yeah, I mean, to show us how bad it could be. But, the old shit worked. I mean, the old
Some of it did. Shark
war
cage
games,
over a ring, fuck you. Get out of here.
Hold on. Now, war games worked. The shark cage over the ring worked, but it worked in a different time.
I could understand that.
The reason that the shark cage over the ring worked was it was a part of the spectacle, right? I mean, it was kind of I gotta fucking put my money on this just to see what this is gonna look like, And
I'm assuming that a lot, because we're living in the Northeast, so there's not a lot of that was real to everybody in the Mid-South. Like that's like, holy shit, they're putting a gentleman in the shark cage. I gotta be there for that.
See, yeah, you guys are in the Northeast. I'm from Kentucky. So I kind of, in Lexington, it was the intersection of both Memphis, because, and again, I was small when Memphis ended, unfortunately, but it was the intersection of that Memphis wrestling mentality, which had big personalities, and the wrestling wasn't necessarily so great. And also the Southern wrestling, which the wrestling was great. But there was some outlandish shit there too. And again, the shark cage deal. I mean, Jim Cornette, a goddamn a former guest on our show. But I'm just gonna plug an episode every 30 fucking seconds. Jim Cornette was placed in a shark cage one time, but the point was, okay, you have a heel manager who, is managing this heel tag team, and he keeps on interfering and keeps on interfering. And then finally, fuck it, we're going to put him in a cage. So there is absolutely no way this motherfucker can, sway.
Unless RoboCop comes in to save the day.
Well, now hold on. Now that was another episode that we did.
It's just like one of the, really, RoboCop.
Let me tell you something. That was Capital Combat 1990. I'm 99% sure. Right. And the whole deal there was the Horsemen were running roughshod over the baby faces, including Sting. So Sting had to get the one motherfucker that the Horsemen could not beat, and that was RoboCop. And my favorite part about the commercial that advertised this, because I had this motherfucker on VHS tape. I bought it for like $1 at a flea market. Right. Is the commercial leading up to it goes, RoboCop will make the Horsemen pay the ultimate price. And it's like, RoboCop's going to kill Ric Flair? Holy shit.
I got to buy this one.
So, but that shark cage was not actually suspended above the ring.
No, it was over in the corner by the commentary table, right?
Right, and RoboCop walks down the ramp in the absolute slow.
I'm just seeing it in my head all over again.
Gordon Soley has to interview RoboCop. And it's just the most ridiculous. So RoboCop bends the bars that, because the Horseman had placed Sting inside of this fucking shark cage. But the great thing about it is you can tell when you're watching the pay-per-view, they knew it was shit, because the segment happens. And then like 15 minutes later, Sting is back out there cutting a promo, and RoboCop is not mentioned. No one pretends it ever happened. It's like, okay, we're done. But
never mind that shit.
Right. But as a kid, as a fucking kid, you're
RoboCop?
telling me that RoboCop is coming to protect Sting?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm all in as a toddler. At 8, 12 years old, fucking RoboCop's helping Sting. But I was never a WCW guy, though. Because so Sting was like this foreign concept to me. Like, I knew he and Ric Flair existed, but they were just like, I didn't know what the fuck they were, because it was Hogan and Savage and Roddy Piper and stuff like that. So that's what I knew, mainly pretty much because that we didn't really have cable, so we didn't get like TBS and some of those other areas where you would see the WCW or the NWA or anything like that.
Man, you missed out then. You missed out on the fucking monster truck sumo match. Oh, my God.
Oh, no, I mean, when WCW got into the Monday Night Wars, then we had TBS and everything. So I saw some of that, but still, there was just something about WCW that just didn't click with me for whatever reason it was. I was just always the WWF guy.
I think that because I was a WWF guy too, I loved them both. I watched them both. But when it came down to it, I was a WWF fanboy as a kid. And I remember I was so pissed when the first Nitro hit, because as a kid, it was kind of like, you know how for a lot of kids, like you were a Super Nintendo kid and your buddy was a Genesis kid. And you basically repped the system that you have because, your parents couldn't afford to have both. So whatever they bought you, you would try to convince your friends that was the best system. So it's kind of with me, for whatever reason, WWF stuck with me. And I remember when Nitro hit, that first Nitro, I was so pissed because I had to try to convince my friends that Nitro was shittier than Raw. When in those early days, it clearly was better. I mean, God, like that first fucking Nitro was like Sting versus Flair and like Hogan and, Ray Traylor and all that.
shows up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then meanwhile, on Raw, I don't remember that exact Raw, but like for a long time, it would be like, one match. And but like the rest would be like, the Goon versus Barry Horowitz and shit. And it was just like, no, this is better. This is better. I remember the fucking ring apron for Nitro made me angry as a WWF fanboy, because like the first 2 weeks of Nitro, it was an apron, but it was like there were little boxes that were clear plastic and there were lights that shine through the apron. And it just looked fucking awesome. I don't know why they stopped doing it, but I remember I was such a wrestling nerd. I was like, God damn it, and their apron's even better. Shit.
Yeah, I mean, even like, because I guess I really because I was out even for a little while, but the Attitude Ever brought me back in. So I think I remember I forgot what I was doing, but all of a sudden I remember just my friend going like, man, you got to start watching again. It's starting to get crazy. And I went, everybody's like, no, but you got to try WCW. Like, they got the Nitro Girls. I'm like, yeah, so what? I figure I can see titty wherever.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. I want to see Steve Austin, kick somebody in the gut and give him a stunner. Let's go.
Right. But, you're talking about how WWF appealed to you more. I find that fascinating, because it did for both of us. And here's why I think that was, and no one ever mentions this, because they always talk about the booking and the live nature of Nitro and stuff. And obviously that was a huge factor. But I think visually, WWF was always a better show. Even when Nitro was kicking ass.
Yeah, it always looked like it was in a TV studio. And I think that's what bugged me. Like, I wanted it to be like at a stadium. Yeah. Like, this is going to be different.
Well, but even when it was in a stadium, it was visually presented differently. Right. It was like Nitro and WCW in general. I know, like, it was directed mostly by a guy named Craig Leathers, whereas WWF was like either Kerwin Silfies or Bucktooth Rogers. What the fuck's this guy? Kevin Dunn. But WCW, they would fucking have like dissolves, right? Where like, right. One shot would fade. And I think, and I know this sounds super fucking wrestling nerdy, but I think that is an example.
You've already named like directors of the shows, so I don't really think you can get much nerdier than we've already gotten.
Right. Well, but like the dissolve was kind of indicative of how WCW was a more laid back pace than like with Raw. It was like every cut meant something and every promo, and even when it was bad, it was like done really fucking well.
Yeah, there's definitely production elements that were totally different, just in how everything went. Like I felt like WCW, because they had that TBS backing, that they had that more of a pure, like, hey, we do television shows here. We're turning this into a television show, and they made it a little bit more like that. I feel like too.
They did, and WCW was owned, like you said, by Turner, and it was produced by Turner Sports, whereas WWF was produced by WWF. So everyone on WWF's payroll was a wrestling guy. The camera guys had been there for 20 fucking years. The director, all he knew how to direct was wrestling. It was, you know what I mean? Whereas WCW was, and again, you can fucking tell. I mean, again, for instance, you talk about the Nitro girls and you watch Nitro, and like it'd be 3 goddamn minutes of these bitches dancing, and like and they were fucking hot, but it's like, okay, they're dancing and like the music really is in the forefront because you know what I mean. It's kind of like bleeding in, and like Shivani's talking about, and then later on, Hogan's gonna fucking say something stupid, and like, but that you didn't have those moments on Raw. You like every moment, and again, and it might have been fucking terrible, and quite often in 95, 96 it was, it meant something, If it was a bad match, at least it was, hey, you're fucking paying attention to this match. We're not just doing it to do it.
Yeah, I agree. So let's start getting into some of the more recent stuff. We just got huge news that I don't think anybody was expecting, but this January, I know we're super excited about it. Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that Chris Jericho is going to be at Wrestle Kingdom this year.
Yeah. I'm really shocked by that because Jericho is such a WWE guy through and through, and Omega and Jericho were trading barbs on Twitter, and a lot of people thought, oh my God, yeah, and a lot of people thought that was going to lead to a match on the Wrestle Cruise, the Jericho,
the rock and wrestling Rager at Sea.
Bro, as someone who's a comedian who is also, a shitty indie worker and loves rock, oh my God, I would suck your dick so hard to get on that motherfucker.
Whoa.
And I'm like, hold up, and I'm very, very straight-ish. So that really says a lot that I would do that to go on that fucking cruise, man. That's, oh my God.
Yeah. We had him on the Josta show recently, which you can find at Gas Digital Network, gasdigitalnetwork.com. And he was talking about the cruise and I think that's when I should have had the hint that he might be doing something, because he was talking about, setting it up and saying, it's like, well, I don't have a thing with WWE right now, and so I can do whatever the hell I want. It's pretty much what he said. And I kind of want to do something and see. They passed on it, but since I'm pretty much running it, I said I'm going to do it anyway, so I'm going to get Ring of Honor to come on. And I was just excited because I'm trying not to Chris Farley the whole situation and like kind of lose my shit in the room. But and I'm just like, oh man, Ring of Honor, this thing is going to be really cool. And I'm like, wait a second. He just said that he's not under contract with WWE. Fuck, he's going to do something great. And there we go. Like, cause once he posted the boat thing, I'm like, he's not going to do it on the boat. That seems silly. And then he shows up at Power Struggle and pretty much shut down the internet for the whole morning. What, was it on Friday, Saturday, Josh? He doesn't even know. He's baked out of his mind.
But you know what, though? I think, and again, obviously, it's way better. It's happening at Wrestle Kingdom, and it's going to be fantastic. I think it would have made more sense almost for him financially to do it on the boat.
Yeah. But I mean, with the guys that they see that they're coming out with, because Marty Scurll's already announced, if that's going to be one of the guys that's going to be there, I'm pretty sure that the rest of the card should be fine.
Oh yeah, no, man. That's gonna be So and again, I don't. I unfortunately have never watched a whole fucking New Japan or any goddamn Japan show. I'd like to. I haven't. But this right here, though, again, and the reason obviously that New Japan wants to do this is to fucking have guys like me go, okay, I've got to fucking watch this show now.
Well, I've done it live on Wrestle Kingdom for the last 3 years. It's a bit of a haul, so...
Yeah, that's what I hear.
But most New Japan big shows, like with Power Struggle and things like that, Some of the more minor ones, you don't have to watch the whole show. We did like a New Japan 101 episode here before, and there's a lot of matches at the beginnings of some of these shows that are just like 8-man tags. Like there's 4 of them. Skip right over them because you don't need to be there for that. Show up like 2-3 hours later. It's like, oh, here's all the matches that I want to see. But Wrestle Kingdom is a little bit of a different story, but it's like WrestleMania. WrestleMania was 17 hours this year, wasn't it?
God damn. And you know what the frustrating thing about WrestleMania this year was the first 2 hours was awesome. Like
it's always like that now.
Well, but man, I mean, but you know, the funny thing is, WrestleMania this year, it didn't really seem like there was any filler, but it was still way too fucking long. There were no legend spots this year. There were very little stupid comedy. Like it was really just match. But it was like, God damn, if you just cut like 2 hours off this show, right, it would have been like one of the greatest WrestleManias fucking ever.
Oh, absolutely. But it's WrestleMania, so we got to try and get everybody on the fucking show on the show. So we got a lot of, I don't know, it was just, I was even sitting there at the party that we were having, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what time is it? We're still here? I want to go home. I mean, I like this stuff, but I want to go home now.
It ended, at like 12:30? And I mean, and the thing about it is, too, man, is that, you know, that Reigns-Taker match obviously wasn't great because Taker was obviously hurting. I mean, it was fine. It was what it was, and I get that it was what it needed to be, but like, you know, for me, a lot of the gravitas of the situation was lost because I was just fatigued from watching so much. I mean, if that would have happened 3 hours into a show rather than 6, you know, I would have. I mean, because again, now, you know, I didn't really. I realized, I think, that it was his last. When they were doing that story that they like to do, and it's a good story.
I think you cut out there. You say that part again.
I realized it was Taker's last match when they were. I could tell it was. To me, I could tell it was towards the end of the match because they were telling the story they tell, where you know, it's kind of like, you know, where Taker, like Reigns could have beaten Taker a couple of times,
right?
And then eventually Taker was like, "No, I'm not laying down for you, motherfucker." And it's great, but again, that's when I started to wake up and go. That's when I got back into it emotionally, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching Undertaker's last match. Before that, I was just like, Jesus Christ, can we get this shit over with?
Yeah, pretty much. And for us, because we're even bigger nerds, we had, I think, a couple of times over the weekend, because we did this when we made the trip out to Dallas. We bought a bunch of tickets for all the other shows. So since we couldn't be in Orlando, we had, I guess we subscribed to Flow Slam or something like that for the week or for the month, and we watched all of the indie shows and all of the Ring of Honors for like 3 days leading up to WrestleMania, and then watched WrestleMania, and then watched Raw and SmackDown. So by the time we got to that, where it's like, I need a break. I need what? I'm done. But like I think we almost won, because I think we knew it was going to be a great weekend when we were doing that, was when we saw Joey Janela's Spring Break. Did you get a chance to hear about that at least?
No, no. What is that?
Are you familiar with Kaiju Big Battle at all?
No.
Okay,
I'm not.
well, Kaiju Big Battle is Godzilla matches in live action.
Nice. That's fucking awesome.
Guys dressing up in giant rubber suits. Like there's a tag team of Paco and Pedro. They're 2 giant green bananas called Los Plátanos.
Is this a promotion that just does kaiju battles?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
They had that show, so you've got all these weird monsters and stuff like that in one show. But then there was another one, because it was the only reason I mentioned the kaiju one is because it did their shtick, but with real wrestling better.
Oh my God!
So it was this spring break themed event. So you got people in the crowd dressed in like board shorts and like pastel T-shirts and billabong and all that stuff with like the bro glasses and everything. And then you've got this goofy fucking wrestling show happening, like a Chikara show, but like turned up to 27. And then like,
where it makes Chikara look like a shoot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, what was the name of the big match, Josh? I think the match was literally called a clusterfuck. It was like a Royal Rumble meets something else. One of the yeah, people were entering at random times. One of the entrants was the Invisible Man, and he got one of the biggest pops of the week.
This is in other words, this is the kind of show that makes Jim Cornette's head explode.
Oh yeah, it was funny because we're sitting there watching, and it's like, next entrant, the Invisible Man, and it just focuses it in on the aisle, and the crowd goes yeah and cheering. And then the Invisible Man gets in the ring and starts getting on a tear. And he starts running through everybody. So guys are taking DDTs, and it's hilarious.
Okay, and this was in Kaiju Big Battle, because I'm going to Google
I think it was just a similar sort of show in that sense. Like Glacier showed up, who then had... they did this Mortal Kombat spot.
Glacier was there?
Yes.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, man. Well, first of all, a couple things there. Glacier is a hero of mine, legit, and we had him on. We've had him on our show
twice. I've heard that episode. It's very good.
Yeah, man. Well, the second one, he talks about WCW's worst moments ever, so you need to check that out. And 3, anything that fucking Glacier does, please support that man. He is genuinely the nicest man I have ever met in my entire life associated with the wrestling business. I mean, because he just debuted with ROH, and I'm sure it was a one-shot deal probably. Right. But you see that? It was the Battle Royal?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't been keeping track of ROH as closely as I would like.
I messaged him and I congratulated him, and he's like, oh, thanks, buddy. I haven't seen the video yet, It's just like, God damn, dude. So I sent him the video. I mean, like, just such a sweetheart. Oh my God.
But
so yeah,
but he ended up in the clusterfuck, which the stipulations for how you can get eliminated was pinfall, submission, or death. And then he comes in, and then he has a standoff with Ethan Page, and then the Mortal Kombat music hits, and the flights start flashing, and then all the ego Ethan Page starts doing like the standing still, pretty much just gif of like he's getting ready for a Mortal Kombat match. Yeah, and he does the spin kicks and it was hilarious. I think are they doing that again this year, Josh? Yeah, they're doing that again this year. I would highly suggest checking out Joey Janela's Spring Break. I think it started on Kickstarter because Joey Janela just wanted a match against Marty Jannetty. And then a giant show got put together, and it's just this campy, like,
I love it.
All the dumb stuff that wrestling is just jacked way through the roof, and it was just so much fun.
You know what that reminds me of? This is going back about 12 years. But they did 3 of these shows. They did one of them a year. I don't know if you've even heard of it. It was called Totally Tool Wrestling.
I can't say that rings any bell.
Yeah, it was kind of obscure. I mean, like, as a matter of fact, it's very hard to even find video of this shit on the internet, which is mind-blowing to me. But it was, they only released them on DVD, but it was the first kind of a show like that I'd ever even heard of. And to give you an indication of what this show was like, the very first match ended when the promoter came out and screamed, "Ring the fucking bell." And the announcer got in the mic and said, "The winner of the match, due to a Montreal screw job." And
what?
They told it, yeah. And then a werewolf comes out of the crowd and bites the referee. And then halfway into the show, the referee turns into a werewolf.
That's awesome.
And then has to ref the rest of the show as a werewolf.
That's great. I love that.
And then there was the
this is what, 90s, early 2000s?
No, it's by 05, 04, 05,
wow.
06. But the main event involved a guy named Chester, whose gimmick was he was a child molester.
Oh, Chester the molester.
Yes, and he came out to the theme "Tainted Love."
Oh no!
And but it had I've literally never laughed at anything harder in my life than seeing Chester. He walks into the crowd and he picks up a little black boy, and it's obvious, and he doesn't touch him, so don't freak out.
Right.
But he picks him up, and like it's obvious that the kid was not in on it because he gets in the ring, and as he gets in the ring, like he holds the kid and he puts the kid down, and the kid's like, "What the fuck's going on?" And he runs out. So the second show Chester's on, the third show they made the announcement that Chester wouldn't make it because he was in prison.
Oh God.
And they even had the guy that played Chester come out and be like a priest to really swerve you.
Wow.
But in the end, like there's this fucking heel that like wins the TTW championship or whatever, and then all of a sudden you hear boom, boom, like, and the crowd fucking popped for this child molester, right? Like the crowd's like, oh my God, Chester's here, and he comes out and he's like wearing a cut off T-shirt and short shorts. Like he had just broken out of prison. You gotta check this out.
Where was this film? Just like some club or like an arena?
Like some fucking, a VFW hall.
Okay.
Just like, I mean, it was indie as fuck, but I mean, and it was my buddy Mike showed me. I have never seen it anywhere. Surely someone out there listening knows how to.
If you can even find that, I want to put that on the Twitter. Yeah,
I want to, man. The only thing I could find on YouTube, and this is a couple of years ago, I even looked, was like it was a video they made before the third TTW where they announced that Chester wasn't going to make it, and they put a montage of his best scenes from the first two TTW shows to the Shawn Michaels mid-90s theme, "Tell Me a Lie," and say that you won't go, and it's the best fucking thing ever.
Oh my God. I just love the fact that their big get is a registered sex offender.
Oh,
I mean, at least that's a great way for him to let everybody in town know that he's there.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, at one point he jumps the rail and sits in an open chair next to a kid.
Oh God. Jesus Christ.
Well, but that was kind of the genesis for my wrestling gimmick. One of my last gimmicks ever was the pedicile.
Oh God!
And again, I was a 20-year-old fucking idiot. There was no way I would ever do this now with social media because this is back when everything was in its infancy.
Oh yeah.
I'm Pedicile. I come out to the goddamn Sesame Street theme, and my manager, how Paul Ellering always had the Wall Street Journal rolled up. My manager had a Tiger Beat magazine rolled up in his fucking.
Oh man, at least you went all in.
And I would always lose when I would, like for instance, I would go up to do a swanton, and my manager would say, "Kyle, we gotta hurry. There's a freshman prom 2 towns over." And I would get distracted and take the loss. And the funny thing about that too is I would come out and I would literally hand Valentines to these kids, and I had my buddy's phone number on it. He had no idea. He was so fucking pissed.
How many phone calls did he get?
A couple, but man, I mean, like a couple, and he, it was just a quick, like, no, I don't know who you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. But like, I remember I would give out, I did this gimmick probably 3 or 4 times, and then like I fucking goddamn snapped out of my stupor I was in. But I had this little fucking like chocolate box, this heart box of chocolates, and I would hand it to kids, and of course they would throw it back at me. The last time I did the gimmick,
It's such a bad idea.
Oh, it's the worst idea ever. It's the worst fucking idea ever. I would never tell anyone this other than you.
But now we're putting it on the internet forever.
Forever and ever, yeah. I handed the box to this fat kid, and rather than throw the box back at me angrily, he got happy and kept it.
Oh, that guy likes me.
So I ripped it out of his hands.
I said, no, one, fatty, just one.
Oh man, the only idea. The funny thing is, I came up with this idea, and I thought, "There's no fucking way the promoter is going to let me do this." And I told him, and he goes, "Yeah, it's great, do it, man."
It said, not only was it a bad idea, especially. Well, when was this? What year are we talking here?
05.
Okay, so that's. Oh man, that's still a terrible idea. But the fact that somebody decided to actually okay it and say, "Yeah, let's do this."
Yeah.
Wasn't that around? Wait, when was John Bonet?
No, that was
90 something. Okay.
6, I think.
There wasn't some other child tragedy around that
Oh,
time.
I'm sure, but it probably wasn't a white. It probably wasn't a white kid, so no one cared.
Right.
I forgot. I feel like back on our show. I say that in jest.
Right.
See,
of course.
on our show, our listeners know that we joke.
Oh yeah.
Say,
No, nothing is serious here.
I don't know if I don't know if like someone's clutching their pearls, going, "Oh
my lord, no." No, I doubt that.
Okay, good.
We've gone in a completely weird fucking direction for the.
You think that we'd be talking about JonBenet Ramsey?
No, I didn't think that. I didn't think I was going to be making that reference an hour ago.
We've not done an episode on JonBenet Ramsey. I don't know, maybe
that was just one of those stories that even after everything was, I guess, done, it always made like the National Enquirer for like 20, 30. Still, I think they finally just stopped running those.
Because there was no fucking answer to it. Because she was murdered and it really seemed like the parents did it, but there was no definitive proof that they did it. And it was like kind of his handwriting, but not. And then it was like if you were to make a fake ransom letter and you had never seen a real ransom letter, you just saw it in the movies. That was the fucking ransom letter. It was when you read about it, it's like there's so many weird ass moving fucking parts of that story. It's super. It's a terrible tragedy, but it's super fascinating. We can talk more about JonBenet if you'd like.
No, that's all right. I think we should probably move on to a couple of other things. I know there's some people that I've heard out there who are kind of annoyed, I guess, with Survivor Series and how they're kind of, I guess, just booking it for this year, like the style. Your feelings towards how the Survivor? I like what they're doing with Survivor Series. I mean, maybe not the players in the match, but the titles and all that stuff. I like it.
I'm annoyed by fucking everything they're doing. I hate to be such a dick. The thing about it is, man, I watched SmackDown.
Right.
I loved the goddamn AJ gender match. It was
a
great
match.
It was clean as a sheet. It was like the proper blow off. And now, for the love of God, I hope they don't fucking put it back on gender before they go to India. Yeah. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, like, I understand everyone on the internet was ironically cheering for gender, and it is fucking inspiring to see a guy who.
I don't know about that. There's been a lot of just hate. And
justifiably fucking so. But look, I get that he's a hard worker.
We had it here, like, for a month. I was starting to lose my mind because we went 3 weeks with the same fucking promo.
I stopped watching. I literally, I'm telling you, and that's what's so frustrating is the brand split happens. I watched SmackDown every week. It was fucking amazing. I mean, yeah, there were missteps here and there, but creatively it was fantastic. The gender thing happens, and I had to stop watching. And it's like, oh my God, he can't work. He cannot work a main event match. He can't do it. He cannot fucking do it. It's the same spots over and over again, the same boring ass, uncreative rest holds. It's the same promos time and time again. And again, I like the idea of, like, using xenophobia. I get putting the belt on a heel for a long time. I get having the two lackeys who time and time again keep fucking the baby faces over. I'm down with all of that. The problem is your main eventer has to fucking be able to wrestle.
Yeah.
Like, he's a fine mid-carder. I'm not saying he's a bad worker, but when it comes to being a main eventer, there's another tier. And he does not possess that. AJ has it. Nakamura has it. Ziggler, believe it or not, when he fucking gives a shit, has it.
Well, he's got to be healthy when he gets the title, and then he's just at the point where I don't give a shit because when
I get it, I totally get it.
I'm just like, I mean, I've been conditioned that this guy's going to lose, so there's really no reason for me to bother caring about him right now.
He had to leave and he never did, and it's too late now. I mean, I'm sure he can, and if he came back 2 years later, he'd be fine. But that's a whole other story entirely. But going back to the booking of Survivor Series, though, I'm super stoked about Lesnar and AJ. That's going to be if Lesnar is fucking motivated, that's going to be a goddamn classic. Lesnar, unfortunately, look, here's the deal. My favorite Lesnar, like most people, I think, is the goddamn beast who can wrestle like a motherfucker when he wants to. The problem with Lesnar is that he squashed Cena in that match at SummerSlam a few years back, and I loved that too because it was unexpected and it was fun. He falls, unfortunately, into a trap when he's obviously unmotivated, because we do know that Lesnar, he's admitted it, doesn't give a shit about the business anymore. He just cares about the payday. Well, you know what?
Pay me.
Right. And you know what? I'm fine with that if you fucking deliver. That's your prerogative. Fucking do it. But he falls into a trap of suplex, sell, suplex. You know what I mean? This match doesn't need to be that.
No,
this
not at
needs
all.
to be obviously AJ fighting underneath. Lesnar is that good. AJ is that good. If Lesnar gives a shit, it's going to be a fucking fantastic classic. My issue with the booking when it comes into Survivor Series, I fucking hated the invasion of Raw by SmackDown. I fucking hated it. I get that it was different and it was exciting and it was unique, but it made no goddamn sense from a storyline perspective. It made no fucking sense.
Yeah, that was kind of now that I go back to it, I'm sitting there. It's like, yeah, this is weird. Why are they attacking? But the only reason I think that it works is because Raw that night, pretty much right after TLC, went, oh yeah, the stuff that we were no, never mind that stuff. No, we're resetting. No, never mind. No, we're just gonna go on from here.
I don't even mind a reset, but you have baby faces beating the shit out of innocent baby faces. Wait, so now they're all fucking heels?
Yeah.
I mean, who the fuck am I supposed like? So you're telling me that an entire show full of guys is full of fucking assholes that I shouldn't care about? You have Becky Lynch, who has like always been this sweet, nice baby face, swaggering down the goddamn hall like Suge Knight, beating the fuck out of people for no fucking reason. Like, when the fuck did that happen? Like, you know. I hate it drove me fucking crazy. It drove me crazy. I mean, and again, I get, you know, hey, you want to do that? Build to it. Don't just have everyone fucking do it because Shane told them to do so. And I like that they're obviously sowing the seeds of dissent between Daniel Bryan and Shane. Turning Daniel Bryan heel is probably stupid, but it's gonna make for interesting storytelling.
Well, I feel like you would turn Shane heel.
Right. And honestly, it really does seem like that in this case, Daniel Bryan is in the right because he wasn't consulted on the attack. He tried to be the nice guy and go talk to Kurt. He gets beaten up by Kane trying to be a nice guy.
That's been my biggest complaint, is the Kane being around all of a sudden again. But now that we've got it to Braun Strowman and Kane, I'm fine. I just didn't need him beating the shit out of Finn Balor 2-3 weeks in a row. How many times he did.
And you know what? I totally get and understand and support bringing Kane back and establishing him as a monster just to be fed to Braun. I like that. But
kill Finn Balor!
Exactly. There are a million guys on that goddamn roster that you could have done that with.
Anyone! So many. Sorry, I'm getting heated again about it.
No, I get it.
Like, damn.
Yeah, I know. And then you're doing it fucking repeatedly? Come on, man. No.
But, I mean, I was, before we even got started on that, I just meant there were people just getting annoyed at the fact that it's going to be each title against each title and having this weird thing. Because, I mean, I just wish they would go with this, hey, we're competing more often throughout the year. Like, bring up the ratings, bring up the fact that they're putting on better shows and all that stuff. Because that's how this whole thing was supposed to start.
Well, I hate the only night of the year that SmackDown and Raw faces each other. It's like, motherfucker, what just happened last night with AJ, like AJ and Nakamura, or not Nakamura? It was AJ and who was it? AJ and
he came out and fought with somebody. I forgot who. Yeah, Jesus Christ, I forgot. Josh, help me out here.
Balor.
Right. Yeah.
But it happened the night before, and it's gonna happen again at the goddamn Rumble. Like, it's gotta happen at the Rumble, obviously.
I hope so. It's gonna be great.
You're gonna have two fucking Rumbles, which would be terrible, but I'd like it. I'd be the only one.
It would be too long of a show.
Right, and you fucking know it's gonna happen at WrestleMania. You know it is. So I mean, why? I don't know, but that's a Vinceism, you know. I mean, and again, and I get it. It's the old razzmatazz, razzle dazzle show, you know, showbiz thing. Like you got to have a hook, you got to have a big hook, you know. And I get it, but have your hook fucking mean something.
Right. I mean, I like the idea of Survivor Series being the way it is, as long as it happens. Like if they stick with what they're doing for this year, but make it every year. So every time Survivor Series rolls around, it's like, all right, if you've got a title, guess what? You're on the show. If you don't have a title, well, you might be in the 5-man. But it gives everybody like a chance to get in before the road to WrestleMania and kind of get an idea. If you just got a casual fan coming in, it's like, hey, check out this pay-per-view. All the titles are up. All the people that have the titles, you get to see who everybody is. You get to see a couple of 5 other players and the other parts of the match. And let's come on, stick around for WrestleMania and stuff like that.
And I'm always down with that. You know, I am. I don't know. I'm excited because Survivor Series every year is a great fucking match. The Survivor Series, like I thought the Survivor Series elimination tag match last year was a goddamn
it was really good. I think we could have put it up for match of the year.
And it was weird because it was very underrated. Nobody really talked about it after it happened. I really appreciated and loved all of the intersecting storylines.
Yes, that was very nice. I mean, I thought we talked about it in rather glowing terms, at least on here, and I thought there was a lot of people were putting that, or at least thinking that it should have been nominated in some of the match of the year discussion for sure. But there were so many other great matches last year that I don't even think we even gave it the third thought, though.
Right. Yeah, no, I feel you there. Oh my gosh, I lost my track of thought. I just got off work and I have not eaten because I want no. It's fine. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you why I can't focus at the moment.
No worries.
Because rather than putting nutrients in my body, I decided it would be a better idea to scream about 30-year-old wrestling with you. And
Sounds
I'm happy.
great.
I'm
on
happy.
board for it.
I'm happy that's what we're doing. Yeah.
Is there do you have a thing that you're really pumped about in the WWE or anything in wrestling that we haven't mentioned? I know you have a tendency to go a little sour, so.
I'm not trying. That's the thing. I'm not trying to be sour, and I'm not trying to be.
I completely understand you, though, and so don't worry about it. I just try to preach a little bit more positivity when I'm on this show.
No, and I agree with you, and I think that it should be, and I think that the internet in general obviously is
sucks
far
the life out of me.
It does, and it's too snarky for its own good, and that's why I keep a lot of my opinions to myself. And the thing about the show is, even though we started the show as, hey, we're talking about the worst angles of all time, I would try my best to find the good in those angles, right? So we would make jokes and shit, but I would go, hey, this one part was good. It's just, as a wrestling fan who grew up really appreciating the art in itself, and as someone who has, participated in the art itself, it's disheartening to see what used to be, the art of a promo.
Right.
So that to me, that's the biggest issue with wrestling is the pre-scripted promos. I'll say it a million times till I'm fucking blue in the face. I just cannot stand when a guy comes out and he's obviously reciting someone else's words and he's just hitting his marks. It doesn't feel real. The audience doesn't connect with it, even if they don't realize it, they realize it. That's why you can't connect with someone when it's obviously not their work.
To help your point there, that's why we loved Talking Smack so much.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
because you had a guy like Baron Corbin who was killing it on that show, but then when he gets to TV, it's a completely different person. Even though it's the same guy, it's not the same person. But then he gets on Talking Smack, and he just talks about how he obliterated Jack Swagger 10 minutes ago, and it's the greatest fucking thing ever.
And tell me how there could be 35 fucking writers or whatever there are, and yet every promo sounds like they're written by the same fucking guy.
Yeah, it's probably micromanagement and thinking that you can only do certain things because you have to go through so many checks and balances to get it okayed and things like that. So you kind of just go into the same thing time and time again.
And I've heard, one thing that I thought was hilarious. I think it was Scott Keith in the Blog of Doom, which I recommend checking out if you have not before. He said that guys, in their promos now are even doing Vince's pregnant pauses, which I thought was great. I've heard, I've listened to a lot of interviews with a lot of ex-writers who are brilliant. They have brilliant wrestling minds, but they say that you just start doing what you know is going to get approved.
Right.
And when you right, and that's when, okay, Vince, yeah, sure, yeah, Khali's going to beat Rey Mysterio. Yeah, okay, great, that's a great idea, Vince. Yeah, he's world champion. That's fine. Yeah, I remember. But no, I agree with you. I think that there's more talent now as far as in ring.
Oh, for sure.
There is more in-ring talent in the WWE than there has ever fucking been in the history of that company. WWE has more talented workers than any company in the history of wrestling. And now, maybe not more stars, not more guys who, exude charisma or are better on the mic, but as far as in the ring goes, unbelievable.
Yeah,
fucking
it's
unbelievable.
crazy. Just even if you just look, like we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, I would want to say, it's like you have AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins. That's just 5 guys, and you can run a promotion off those 5 guys alone.
Absolutely, yeah, and and again, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here, but that's just what makes it so frustrating when you go back and you look at WWF in '97. And see what they were able to do, the kind of intriguing television they were able to create out of, God damn, what really limited, stars they had. I mean, yeah, they had Mick Foley. Yes, they had, Kane later on that year, and Michaels and Bret Hart and Austin and Vader. Yeah, right, and that's fucking crazy. But there's a whole rest of that 2-hour show that needed to be filled.
Oh, yeah, and it wasn't always the best.
Oh my God, it was crazy. I mean, that really, because I think that when it comes to the Attitude Era, obviously we have these nostalgia goggles. Now, I myself do. Go back and watch one of those shows.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's some gaps of time that you're looking to do something else.
Oh my God, man, there were so many guys where you're just like, who the fuck is that? And
Steve Blackman.
Right, I like, but again, I like Blackman, but they took a guy like Blackman who was fine in the ring, not wonderful.
The Lethal Weapon.
He had no charisma.
None.
He could not. But what did they do? They made a fucking good character because he was a hitman, and that was his thing. And he was in good, for the most part, good storylines, right?
And you got put in the hardcore scene, and so we can do all that crazy shit.
Exactly, he was fucking over. Now WWE has goddamn Austin Aries, and they fucked him up. So you're talking about a time where they got Naked Midian over more than Austin Aries, a guy who could literally do anything. Fucking Midian had the body of a goddamn fucking.
Did you get a chance to hear the Jericho interview that he did this week?
With Midian?
No, with Austin Aries.
Oh no! I was gonna say, Jesus Christ, he was scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Man, I didn't realize he went through everybody.
But you know what's fucking sad though is that I would listen to that over an interview with like Finn Balor, and here's why: because I feel like I've heard so many with Finn Balor.
Right.
I know what he has to say. I've never heard a goddamn interview with Midian. I'd listen. You know what I mean? And that's why that's what I wanted to do with our show, which is why we had goddamn Wolfie D from PG-13 on, which by the way tells the best goddamn wrestling story of all time. It's so fucking funny. That's also available in the archives on iTunes. But no, he had. I didn't hear it, but I read some of the interview. Aries said that he left, or he got released. He got fucking released.
Yeah, pretty much. But the thing with the promo stuff, he has this interesting story about the banana thing, where he just got out of the ring and he's just trying to replenish his like, unlike you have before this show, he just needs to put he wants to have a banana and some water, and they kind of made this stupid deal about the banana. And like, I'm just gonna have a banana while I do this interview with you. It's not. There's nothing about it. I don't have to reference. Do you want me to reference it? Well, do you need to reference it? I don't know. I'm just trying to eat a fucking banana.
So why, like, what exactly were they upset about with the banana?
It wasn't that they were upset. It was just you had this, like, they couldn't wrap their heads around why he had a banana in the first place. So when he's like, I'm just eating a banana, it's like, well, do you want me to have the banana? Should I just put it down? And they wouldn't say no. But when he had it, and then he said something at the end of the interview about bananas, they're like, wait, why did you do that? Should we just bring the banana? And it became this like clusterfuck of nonsense.
I watched that. That was on 205 Live, I think, or was it on Raw? It was one of the two.
It was on 205 Live, and it ended up becoming a thing, but it didn't. Yes. It was just like, I just needed a banana after the match.
Yeah, I know, God. Well, but that's a case where TNA knew how to book Austin Aries.
Oh,
because they let him be Austin Aries. They knew how to book. They knew how to. Yeah, they knew how to book Bobby Roode. I mean, Bobby Roode.
They had one of the best feuds in a long time.
It was fantastic, and you see what they're doing with Bobby Roode on SmackDown. They haven't killed him or anything, but there's so much more they can do with him, man. And again, that's what's so frustrating is all this goddamn talent, man. I mean, just don't fuck it up. Like it's like so you're going out of your way to fuck him up. Just don't fuck him up.
Yeah, it's just been the Bobby Roode transition to a good guy. I don't think anybody was expecting. I don't know.
And it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have fucking happened.
I don't know.
Especially so goddamn early in his run. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. You can get at least 2 fucking years of that motherfucker as a heel.
Oh, for sure. He can be a heel indefinitely.
Oh, I mean, it's almost like the Miz. Like,
yeah. The Miz is amazing right now, though.
Oh, my God.
Speaking
I'm
of
so
amazing,
impressed with him.
Because we're going to have to cut this short, I wanted to do, since we're going into positivity, let's do an old bit that we haven't done in a while. We'll call it the Too Sweet Top 5.
Okay.
We're bringing it back, the Too Sweet Top 5. And we're just going to go, I guess we'll do the hashtag again. Hashtag TST5. Let us know your top 5 at the WHPC on Twitter. Who would you think put in a top, if you had to pick your top 5 sports entertainers, as it were, or you can go to wrestlers if you want to pick some independent workers or anything like that. Your top 5.
Of all time or right now?
Or I'd say right now.
Right now, well, again, unfortunately, it's going to be very uneducated because I have not watched Impact, TNA, Global Force Wrestling, Jeff Jarrett's bullshit in a while. I haven't watched Ring of Honor, unfortunately, and I haven't watched New Japan. So this is going to be my top 5 WWE guys now.
They're the biggest brand on the block for a reason.
Okay, I don't even know if I can go in order. I know my number one has got to be AJ Styles. I mean, the motherfucker is just in my opinion,
new world champ.
Yeah, in my mind, the best goddamn in-ring worker in WWE today, possibly in the world. Again, I don't know. AJ is going to be number one.
You'd make a hard argument for the contrary, for sure.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. And then also, and again, in no particular order, I'm going to say Shinsuke because Shinsuke is a goddamn charismatic supernova who's fantastic in the ring that they managed to fuck up.
Not completely. It's just because he hit the Jinder Mahal wall, which has been God. It's like, what the fuck happened? Because I was talking to Josh the other day during the show. It's like that second match he should have won.
Oh yeah,
he should have won that second match.
But again, he barely got fucked.
Yeah,
he barely got fucked. It wasn't like the goddamn like the Singh brothers should have fucking hit him in the face with a sledgehammer and shot him in the goddamn dick with a shotgun and then ran him over with a truck and pinned him. No, Shinsuke goddamn hits his fucking goddamn move and the ref barely, ever so slightly hesitates.
Yeah.
Right? And then 1-2 kick out, which, okay, go ahead and fucking kill it already off the bat. And then he gets fucking, gimmicked by you see, the more agitated I get, the more I talk like a fucking 80s Memphis wrestler. You see that? fucking bip, goddamn son, hit him with his gimmick shit. So, yes, 2 would be Shinsuke. 3 is going to be Samoa Joe. I mean, he's just fucking
so good, isn't he?
He's a goddamn man. I mean, I know that none of these are fucking surprising, but they're not surprising for a fucking reason. I understand that.
He's one of those guys that has come in, like even when he came back, he just commanded everything.
Absolutely,
he steps into the ring, and nope, we have to pay attention to this dude because he's gonna make sure we pay attention to him.
Yep. For Seth Rollins, again, I mean, he's unbelievable, and I think he's been consistently on top for so long now, and he's been used by them, bad and good, that I think people take him for granted. But this is going to be my swear ball. Number five. You ready for this?
Sure.
You ready for my?
I'm prepared.
Here's my hot take. Gold Dust, number 5.
Really? He's not even on the show.
No, but he's on the show. I mean, he's in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, he's there.
He was there a couple of weeks ago. I just the motherfucker ages like a fine wine.
Yeah,
he's
still really good. He's still really good.
Been better in the ring. He has, I love the character. I love the charisma. I saw him at a house show here in Springfield over the summer, and it was, I think it was when he was feuding with R-Truth, which I don't think that feud ever came to a guy. I mean, like that, it never came to an end.
I think it did. That's what I was about to say. Is like he was doing this thing where he had these promos that he was cutting, like saying like, it's going to be the next coming of essentially Goldust, and it just never materialized. It just kind of fizzled out. So, I know. I don't know.
And again, that's another thing that I have a problem with when they they set up narrative threads and don't pay them off, because that tells me as a viewer I should have no faith in you as a storyteller. So if I've invested my emotions into a storyline and you don't even bother paying it off, well, I'm not going to invest myself again later on, right? Goldust, though, at that show in Springfield that I saw, and every other time I've seen him live, but especially then because he got to be a fucking evil heel. The way that he moved, I mean, and I'm telling you, that's my favorite. That's why I love William Regal so much, and Finn, the old school guys, man, because they didn't come up in, I almost called it the goddamn power plant. Wow. The Performance Center. I'm 138 years old. They didn't come up in the thing about the Performance
dungeon.
Center, the dungeon is I mean, it creates a polished fucking worker, which is great, but you don't want every guy to be polished. Right. You want a guy who moves like a Regal, who's different, who's unique, and Goldust is like that. And just every little nuance of that motherfucker meant something. And I mean, his eyes exuded. I love Goldust. I can't sing his praises enough, and that's and even though he dissed me, and I've told the story on our show 25 times, but I'll do it again. That motherfucker, I read his goddamn autobiography, which was like a glorified pamphlet. Okay, it was like 35 fucking pages. It was and like he wrote it without a goddamn ghostwriter, which you could tell because it's on a goddamn fucking slow 3rd grade reading level. But I read it because I'm a supporter of that motherfucker. And back before he even, because remember for like 2 years he was a fucking agent, right? And
yeah,
he wasn't
I think something like that.
Years, it's like 2012, 2010. No, it was like 09.
I think I was out at that time. I was not paying attention to this world.
Yeah, and again, that's what makes him even more remarkable, dude. It's like fucking 10 years ago, people were going, "Oh, he's done," and he comes back and has the goddamn run of his life, at least in the ring. So I'm outside Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm walking out of the building. I see Dustin Rhodes walking up to me. I'm even respectful. Don't even call him Dust. I call him Gold Dust. I'm very quick. I just say, "Hey, Gold Dust, you're one of my favorites of all time, man. You and Booker T are my favorite tag team of all time." And then I say, "I don't want to bother you," and then he goes, "Thanks," and he walks away. When I said I don't want to bother you, he was like, "Well, thanks, don't fucking bother me," and he walked up. And it's like, motherfucker,
and took his cue to get the fuck out of here.
I just wanted a goddamn handshake. This son of a bitch.
He probably thought you were a nerd and wanted to get bother him.
He wasn't even working at the time. He didn't have the goddamn gimmick on his face. You can't even fucking tell me anyone fucking knew who he was. He wasn't Cena. He wasn't fucking Orton. There was no one throwing their goddamn panties at this motherfucker. He was a goddamn agent in the back, and I was trying to be a polite son of a bitch, and he no-sold me like a cocksucker. So fuck him on that particular night, even though he was discourteous to me on a recent occasion, Captain Insano. So, but I'm a huge fan. So there you go.
I don't even know where to go now. I had a plan to go somewhere, and now I have no idea where.
I'm sorry.
I think the last I saw, we were watching going back to the old is new again. We saw him bleed a lot in War Games 92 the other night as we went to go back. And I had to at least refresh my memory of how bananas War Games mentioned. The rules are confusing.
Well, no, War Games 92 is the best one of all time.
Right,
I mean,
that's why I stuck with that one, because I'm not watching any other ones.
That was the culmination of the Dangerous Alliance storyline. I don't think they're really confusing. I mean, it's 2 teams, and then every 2 minutes, a new guy comes in, and the heels get the advantage, and it's pretty simple. The heels outnumber the babies. Boo. Babyface comes in to even the odds. Yay. Heel comes in. Boo. And it works really, but it worked over and over again.
It was a giant clusterfuck.
Oh, for that? No, that match wasn't a clusterfuck.
As far as I mean, like, there's bodies everywhere and guys bleeding all over the place.
And it was fantastic.
The amount of blood coming off of Dustin Runnels' face, or whatever moniker he was going on, he was just pouring buckets of blood out of his face.
Stone Cold wrote about that, and he wrote about that in his autobiography. He was in the match, and he said that I think he was on top of Dustin, and he was putting the fist to him, and he said while he's working him, he goes, "Nice juice," and Dustin goes, "You too," while it was happening in that match, And he said that he went to the back, and I think Luger was on that show. I think it was this one that he was talking about. He said he walked by Luger, and Luger just looked aghast, like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, they were busted wide the fuck open for at least 20 minutes.
I loved it, man. I get why they don't do it now. I totally get it, but I miss it. I fucking miss it, and I love it.
Well,
it adds so much.
We got another War Games coming up in just about a week, I guess, right?
You know what? And there's going to be no blood, but that's another reason why I love Lesnar. That cell match that Lesnar had with Taker a couple of years back, where he obviously did.
Like it looks like he takes the pole shot and then it's just gushing blood off his head.
And he's gushing like a motherfucker, and then he tries to hit Taker in the head with a chair. I mean, like, Lesnar lives in his own fucking world.
Well, then he more recently hard-weighed Randy Orton.
Yeah, well, that was obviously planned. But goddamn, that was.
You heard gasps from the crowd. Like, people were freaking out. I thought it was great,
I loved it. And everyone on the fucking internet, the goddamn limp-wristed, panty-waist nerd fucking internet. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I say that not as a pejorative against homosexuals. I have to clarify. I'm very pro-homosexual. Like I said, I'm 10% gay myself when it comes to the Wrestle Cruise. But these limp-wristed asshats on the internet, oh, God, it was the hard way. It's so dangerous. Fuck you. Yeah. He fucking he consented to it.
Yeah.
It was a unique and creative way to end the fucking match, and it was something new. And it pisses me off when you can't have any fun anymore in wrestling.
Somebody's got to ruin everything. There's people that try to destroy everybody else's fun. And we see it all the time. We drive us crazy.
I hate it, man. It's got to be filtered through your fucking box. Just shut the fuck up and enjoy it. They both love.
Can't we just enjoy the things that we enjoy?
Thank you. Exactly. Right.
Well, on that note, I think that's perfect time to start wrapping it up here.
Okay. Good.
At Obtuse Angles Pod. At Obtuse. What's the Twitter? I'm sorry, I'm gonna blow it.
We are at Obtuse Podcast. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. You can also check out the website obtuseangles.libsyn.com. If you were in the air, I'm sorry. I mean, you said it's going to drop Monday, right? You think it's Monday?
I think sometime next week.
Well, then why would I promote a comedy show that's already happened? You can follow me on Twitter at ShortBusKincade. Again, if you like horror narration, I like it. It's called Dark Eyes Stories on YouTube and Twitter. There you go. That's all my shit. I got my shit in.
Good. You can always, as always, folks, you can follow us at the WHPC on Twitter, Facebook.com/WHPodcast. Find this. If you haven't done that 5-star review, please go and do that. It helps us more than you can know. I'm Howie Farrell. Kyle, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Anytime. We'll see you guys next week.
Stadler?
What?
Is that it?
Yes, it's over. How'd you like it?
I don't know. I slept through the whole thing.
Well, you didn't miss much.